You have choice. You have always had choice. What change can we be today? What action can we take to create a future of greater possibilities? Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast with your host, Simone Milasas. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. So we are in this month of, around the world, they call it different things. In Australia, we have this huge Are You OK campaign in Access Consciousness. If you want to go check it out, you can go to accessconsciousness.com/you are not alone, which is interesting because I actually woke up thinking about that this morning. It's like, you know, the times that you actually desire to be alone, but it's like you're never alone. You're never alone. Okay. And even if you go outside and it's like you see, you know, the trees and nature, the earth is with you as well. So maybe there's a whole lot of crazy people out there and you're not alone. So we get that this is a mental health awareness month, suicide awareness month. There's a lot of names that go with this. So I've been interviewing some different people. We started off the month with Dr. Dane here. If you missed that, go check it out. And today I have Dan. What's your full name?
Daniel Flores von Borstel.
There you go. And you're from Mexico, right, Dan?
Yes, I live in Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta, which I'm going to be going there very soon. Actually, by the time this airs, I'll be there. So welcome today, Dan. Thank you so much for joining me here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad.
And you've got a big smile on your face, which I love. And this is a bit of an odd topic. Like I actually did some shows last year on my podcast and I, interviewed various people that had some stuff going on with them or with family members, etc., with mental health. And because what we'd like to do is I'd like you to have a different possibility and a different way of looking at what else you could choose, because there's always another possibility available. Even those moments where you just think, no, there's no other possibility available. Life is a piece of shit. Nobody loves me. I think I'll go eat worms. There actually is. One of the most courageous things you can do is get up, get out of bed, and know that you can actually choose something different. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes it can actually be, quite confronting. Let's use that. Quite confronting. And you have to be the one that chooses something different. So, Dan, you have a little bit of an odd story. Especially me being Australian, it's even odder because it's not something that occurs in Australia on a regular basis. That's for sure. So I know. So I want to talk about like an incident that occurred with you, and then what you chose with Access Consciousness tools and changing your point of view around it all. So can you go like what happened? You got kidnapped.
Yes. Okay. And it's really funny that we had this today because a lot of energy show up.
Just hold your microphone up to your, as you talk.
Like that?
Yeah, that's way better. Thanks, Dan.
Okay. A lot of energy showed up today, so it's great that we're doing this. And thank you for this interview. What happened was that I reached this place where I couldn't acknowledge me, and I felt like numb. And that's what it showed up today. I was in a place in my life that I felt numb, and I can acknowledge now that it was actually a feeling. I was totally into my feelings, and I had a lot of money. I was traveling the world. I was riding the horses national and international show jumping, and nothing felt like anything. Nothing made me happy. I didn't know that was a choice. I went to Disneyland that year 7 times because I was like, oh, that's the happiest place in the world. That has to do something with me.
You looked for happiness in Disneyland. Okay.
Yes, I did. I totally guilty.
That is very funny. Yeah.
Totally guilty about that. And so, a year and a half ago, actually, I was just walking out of my office, right in front of a park full of people, and then 2 trucks blocked my truck. 7 guys with large guns stopped me, and then they took me away. After that, for some reasons that are significant for now, I had to be out of the city for over a month. And that's how I started Access. I found the Access videos and facilitation in YouTube, because I had my bars run like 2.5 years ago once. And then the incident happened, and thereafter I was gone, and I was feeling so scared of even my shadow that I knew there was something else in the world rather than any kind of therapy. And I knew that Access has to do something with it. And I started looking at videos, and then I saw somebody saying, oh, instead of going into my head, I go into pot and pock. And then I knew that that was the point of creation, point of destruction. And then I went to, oh, what am I creating? What am I destroying? It's what that has to do with me. And I was so scared, and so remembering whatever happened, all the times they punched me and the things they said and the violence and all of that was like a revolver going, a revolving thought, but actually like a revolver going into my mind, wanting me to die. So as I started using pot and pock, I didn't know I was destroying and creating a lot of stuff. I knew that I was keeping my mind busy with pot and pock, pot and pock, pot and pock. And then obviously I had like legal advice and a lot of people jump in to contribute, but I knew that I had to, at some point somewhere I read about the killing energy, which for me that time it was, okay, you cannot be weak anymore. You have to be strong. And if they come after you again, you have to be as strong as to tell them, what do you want? I have nothing to do with you. Just, you can, I mean, there's nothing, you got nothing on me. Until then, which took me like a month to recover the strength on me. That's when I came back to Puerto Vallarta and recover my life, because I wanted to like go to another country and become a bartender. And I'm not like I mean, besides show jumping horses, I have 2 masters in law. I worked for over 10 years at notary public office. I have 2 masters in law. So me going away, and it's not significant, but the tools professionally that I have to make money, I was not willing to let that just be destroyed by something that happened to me. So I came back and started choosing Access classes.
So let me just ask you a few questions, because there's a few things that you've mentioned that I'd like to sort of reiterate. And one of them, of course, is Dan's referring to POC and POD, which is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And I know I mentioned it on my podcast, but you can find out more about it on theclearingstatement.com. And the way he talks about this with like POC and POD, point of creation and the point of destruction, it's really amazing how that clearing statement works. And I know when you first hear it, you go, what the hell is that? Boys in shorts or something? And you're like, it makes no sense. But here's the thing. It's like, what if it's not meant to make sense? And what if, so many of the tools of access, including the clearing statement, are meant to, fry your mind the way it is. So you can check out theclearingstatement.com. But if you look at the energy of it, point of creation, point of destruction, and it's like this right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So at a moment, say with Dan, when he's like, oh, I got kidnapped, right? And you have this point of creation of, I love the way you said, you looked at maybe going and be a bartender somewhere and making cocktails. Nothing wrong with making a good cocktail. But also that energy of going, no, I created my life as something greater, and I am going to choose to have the strength and the courage to always choose greater. So there's this point of creation is where, say, if you look at an act like any, I don't know, violence, abuse, kidnapping in this case, that point of creation is where it occurred. The point of destruction could be where Dan no longer chooses the greatness of him. He no longer has this strength and this courage. So when you POC and pod that, you're literally changing the energy on all of those points of view so that you have, the best way I can describe it is like a clean slate so that you get to choose. So just because something quote unquote happened to you in a previous, moment, and there can be anything. I mean, yesterday we were having a little gathering at my house on the veranda, and we started to smell smoke. And Percy, who lives across the road from me, and myself, we were here when the bushfires were on, and we had to evacuate twice. And once it was like within 10 minutes, and the flames were coming up on my window, right? So it was a moment that you were just like, holy shit, like I've got to get out of here. So now we laugh about it and we joke because everyone goes, oh, it's a barbecue, someone's cooking, and Percy and I muck around and go, PTSD. It's like, but you become very aware of it, but not to let that guide you, not to let that control you is probably a better way to say it. So if I look at Dan and he's been kidnapped, and I wouldn't mind actually going into that a little bit more, if that's okay, of talking about like what, I mean, I don't know for what reason do they do that, but you don't make that incident control you. You have all of you. And I know as I'm talking about this, and if you're listening and you might go, oh yeah, but I've got this story. That's literally what it is. These are all stories that create you choosing something less than. I mean, last week I had Dr. Dane here on, and we spoke about, the amount of abuse that he's received in his life. And I've always said, if he was an asshole and just a complete and utter, I don't know, asshole, whatever, he would have the excuse of going, oh, well, I was so abused, that's why I'm so unkind. And he's not. He's one of the most kindest, generous people I've ever met in my life. And he has this sense of ease and peace about himself because he chose that. So it doesn't matter what has occurred to you in your life. It's like, what are you going to choose now? And you actually have the tools. And for me, Access Consciousness showed me so much as well, like the tools of access, that I could choose something different. It was up to me. And a lot of people who, have something that have occurred. Like, I mean, I've had abuse when I was about 17, and it's like, you could use that as an excuse to not be all of you. There is no excuse not to be all of you, okay? And I know some of you are going, fuck you, that's really hard to hear because you don't know my story. Trust me, I have heard a godzillion stories, and every single one of you have a choice to choose something different. So everywhere that you've decided that you don't have a choice to choose something different, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And a great question to ask is, if I was choosing my reality today, what would I choose? Like, what's gonna make you happy? Like Dan said, I know I've heard you talk about the horse riding, etc. You love that, and it's like, you've got 2 law degrees, etc. So yeah, you could go be a barman making cocktails. Like I said before, nothing wrong with making a good cocktail. That's not what it is that you would like to create with your life. Like, what is it that you would like to choose today? What is it you would like to choose today? What action can you take that creates a future that is greater for you and happier? Because I mean, as I've mentioned on this podcast, the world is a shit show at the moment. Very interesting to see what's going on. And it's like, what can you be that allows you to soar above all of this? And everything it doesn't allow you to acknowledge that, because you don't have to wait for others to choose that. You can actually choose what works for you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and girls. So Dan, you didn't know that Access Consciousness exists before you were kidnapped, right?
I had my bars run once, and then for a year, I had my bars run once, and that's about it. I didn't know any other classes, anything else. I saw it on Facebook, got my session, and I was like, oh, okay, it's something. It didn't feel like amazing or anything, and then a year after I get kidnapped, what happened was that these people thought that I had power and total control of the finances of some of my clients. So that's why they did that. At some point through the kidnapping, I had the opportunity to clear that out, and they let me go on there.
How long were you held for?
Several days.
Right.
And when I was let go, I was under circumstances that they were controlling me 100%. So I had the strength with my family to like choose different. I didn't know back then. So some members of my family took me away from the city, and then we got like legal advice, and some people interfered to see what was going on in reality, which at the end it was all cleared out because it had nothing to do when they realized that the people that had the money on all this situation and all these legal matters had control of their own money. So
Right.
that's what I said. I mean, you got nothing on me. I don't have anything. I don't have any control on that. But they were controlling me for a month, which was the month that I was away. I was weak. I was feeling not myself, obviously. I didn't believe in anything. I thought it was the end of my life. As I said, I wanted I mean, I look in the newspapers for any job that I could do with no skills. I thought that I was like, instead of what you said, a clean slate of opportunities, I thought I was like in the total limitation of you cannot even use your abilities as expert translator authorized by the Supreme Court, as a lawyer, as anything that you could do that you already prepared your life for and you have skills for. So
So can I ask what created that piece in you that you were like, I can no longer use my skills. I can no longer choose anything that, where I was heading.
As I said, when the kidnapping happens, that now I know, I mean, I created it somehow, because super quick, when I was little, I always knew I didn't belong to this planet. I knew I had a lot of virtues, as I call them back then. Now I know their abilities that are in most of us, that we know that we can use them or not. But nobody in my family used them or knew or perceived anything. So when I was like about 10 years old, I started like going into a lot of like going into things about seeing the future. So I started seeing the future really right away and moving things with energy. And I got super scared because that's when you started like looking into like religion or things about what other people said about the future and premonitions and all that stuff, and you don't know. So I like
Can I
blocked it
ask
for
you,
so
hang on a
many
second,
years.
did you get
Yeah.
scared or were you excited acknowledging that there's something different available? Like, were you actually scared?
I was actually scared because when I started moving things with my hands with no touching, I was really scared. And then I could see the future 2 minutes, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, like in the future. So it became like I couldn't live my life because I was seeing what was going to happen. So I think it was like back then, it was totally fear of not knowing what I was doing. And now it's total excitement. It's just like, yeah, bring it on, baby.
Yeah, because we have an ability to perceive the future. We have an ability to know. Like, one of the things that I would say, if you're listening to this too, you are, and I'm not kidding here, you're literally a billion times more aware than what you've been willing to acknowledge. So many times people look at other people as a reference. Like, you have this awareness of something, and then you look around and go, oh, does somebody else have that point of view? What if you stopped looking around you if somebody has the same point of view as you? And what if you started following what you knew? We talk about in Access Consciousness, you're an infinite being. Well, what the hell is an infinite being? And it's like an infinite being is somebody who has the ability to perceive, know, be, and receive everything. And you actually do. And so much we limit ourselves by our conclusions, by trying to look for a result rather than actually being in question and asking, what is it that you would like to show up? I mean, I've got all these plants in my office at the moment, and as a really small example, if you've got plants, do you walk into a room and you know when they need water because they're like, oi, and you're like, okay, you can hear it. You can hear the plants. Okay, you can hear the earth. you can hear what's going on. And rather than going like for this big, deep, dark dive into the trauma and drama of the world, what if we actually started soaring above it all? And whatever trauma and drama that you've decided that you've had and that you cannot get over, will you please destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and
Yes.
bad, hot and pot, all nine shorts, boys, meons. And ask, what would it be like today if I started soaring above it? What success can I have for myself today that I haven't allowed myself to perceive, know, be, and receive? And everything that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys, meons. Dan did mention about bars, and we have throughout, if you go to the accessconsciousness.com, accessconsciousness.com/ you are not alone, there's a whole lot of facilitators all around the world who are offering free bars sessions. So go get your bars run, or even better still, go to a bars class, because you get to run bars twice, receive bars twice. You watch this really cool video with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, and Dr. Dane Here, the co-creator. You get a manual, and guess what? You can go out and actually be a practitioner afterwards, and you can run bars and charge people for creating more freedom in their world. So, and bars, I know I've mentioned it before on my podcast, but it's like getting the delete button and just deleting everything that's going on, all those thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Like, you know, as Dan was saying before, it's like this sense of being scared. And it's like, so often when we think we're scared and we have fear, it's not. We misidentify it so much. It's usually some excitement. It's like something that you go, ooh, didn't know this was out there. This was, I mean, I went swimming with whales the other day, and we're out in the big blue, you know, like you can't see the shore, and we're on the back of the boat, and someone was mucking around saying, you know, about sharks, and the lady goes, well, there's no sharks on the boat. We're like, we're in the ocean, we're about to dive into the ocean, of course there's sharks there. But what if you actually went with what you're aware of and what you know? And diving off that boat into the ocean, like out that far out, was so thrilling. But you also, like, so many people would misidentify that and say that they were scared. But next time you have that sense of scared or fear, I want you to stop and ask yourself, am I scared? And is this fear, or have I misidentified that as excitement? It's just something I'm not sure what is about to happen next, but you know what? I'm in. Let's go. And everything that is right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and millions. So Dan, you did have your bars run, but prior to this, and then you had this occur to you, which I wouldn't want, like, I wouldn't want that to occur to anyone. I would like the world to be a much better place. And I know one of the bars is called Hopes and Dreams. And I always make the joke that Hopes and Dreams is up here. It's like, I need my Hopes and Dreams bars run, thinking that the world is actually going to wake up one day and everyone's going to start being kind to each other. So, but I'm still going to ask for it, and I'll still get my Hopes and Dreams bars run. And it's a very unusual thing, because it's like in Australia, that just is not an occurrence. I remember being in Bogota, Colombia, and I was at this restaurant, and it's in Bogota is so beautiful, and like it's the city is surrounded by these hills, beautiful hills, like. And I was with this friend of mine, Sarah, who's from Australia, and we're with, you know, some Colombians, and we were talking about going hiking, and we were like, oh, can we go hiking? And then they looked at us and they went, no, 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 no. Like, that's where people get kidnapped and they get hidden up there. And we were like, wow, that's such a different world. Like, we just looked at it and went, how nice would it be to go hiking in that bush? So different perspective all around the world too. And I know that everyone's got something where they're born, where they live, that they create as their quote unquote story, so that they can choose something less than. What I would like to, and I know I might piss some people off when I talk like this, because you're like, yeah, but you don't know my stuff. Honestly, like I said right at the beginning, it's up to you. You can choose something different, and you're not alone. You are not alone. Consciousness has your back. And if there's someone that you know of that you know is struggling, please give them a call. Reach out. It's like, talk to them. Don't do this thing of, like, you know, stepping away from them because you've decided you don't know what to say. What if it's not about saying anything? What if you actually learnt how to run bars and just got their bars run, or you just gave them a big hug, or you just said, hey, you're not alone. I'm here. I've got you. That's it. You know, something. Reach out to the world and have these random acts of kindness. So Dan, what are some of the tools that you started to use that, I guess, changed your mindset from being the best cocktail maker in the world to to choosing your life where you are now.
Which again is nothing wrong with being a
Nothing wrong
cocktail
with
maker.
it. I'm saying, well, I'm going to see you in Mexico soon. So cocktails,
Yeah,
margaritas.
on me this time.
Okay.
One of the tools that I use is obviously the pot and POC, the clearing statement, and which to me it was like that magic wand that actually deleted energies. Period. And then just what you said, knowing, and I still use it dynamically, knowing that the universe has my back, that consciousness has my back, because now I am aware, and I know that I created all of this because I wasn't aware. I was in a part of my life where I was like totally into this reality, into creating money with the rules of this reality, creating my life according to this reality. So I was totally empty. That's how I felt, numb, and totally into feelings and emotions. So when that happened, it was like a totally different story. Getting my bars run for like, it wasn't that long, like probably 3 weeks every day. And then I took like my first class, which it was facelift. And then that's how I started. And boom, 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 boom. Every tool, it has created a different story. Um, the one that I can tell you that I had the most resistance until I heard you on a YouTube video when you said, the facilitator that you reject the most and the class that you reject the most, that's it. That's what's going to create the most change. So I was just like, okay, interesting point of view. So because people come to me and said like, hey, you changed your life. What are you saying? What are you using? Or how do you use interesting point of view? And I was like, I don't use it. I use, and I did use a lot, and I still use every single day, a lot of times. What else is possible? How does it get any better? And it does great, become better and better and better and better. So interesting point of view one has been one of the ones that I rejected the most.
So that's what you resisted the most. Okay, so let me just talk about that for a second so that people understand what you're talking about. So yeah, one of the things that I've always said is if there's something that you resist, strangely, we're strange creatures, it's usually what's going to change the most for you. And to be honest, I think I was one of the most resistant people to come along to Access ever. I was horrible. I did my foundation class, which is one of the first class, you do bars and then you can do foundation. And on the second day, I told my facilitator to fuck off and I had better things to do with my life than this, and walked out. And I remember going home and just thinking, oh my God. And I opened a bottle of wine and started drinking some wine and bawled my eyes out. And I knew that I was asking for so much change, and the change was here. And it was right in front of me. And I knew that I was just like, I don't know what to do with this change. So anyway, I ended up going back into the class the next day, and I was horrible. Like I had my arms crossed and I was glaring at this guy, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, you're back. And I went, yeah, well, I paid for it, so I'm here. And I was terrible. I was so mean. And, I didn't facilitate classes for a long time because I thought, what am I going to do if someone like me shows up? I don't know how to deal with that, which is not true. But anyway, I know I was resisting the change that I was asking for. So how many of you are actually resisting the change that you're asking for? I know that doesn't make logical sense. That actually sounds quite insane, but hello, we're all a little crazy, and everything that is, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So the tool that Dan is referring to, interesting point of view, is the one that he was resisting. And the way you use this tool is interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Now, I mean, if you look at the world right now, it's like, how many points of view are there out there of what is right and wrong, what is good and bad? And I don't know how many rights you have in every single city and country is so different. But interesting point of view, I have this point of view, okay? Because your point of view is one of your greatest potencies. So if you have a point of view that the world is going to shit, then that's literally, you'll help create that. But if you have a point of view that no matter what it takes, no matter what it looks like, you can have all of you can soar above all of this, then that is your greatest potency. You will create that. You get to create your today by the action that you take. I mean, the name of this podcast is, choice, change, and action. It's like by your choice. what you're willing to change, and the action that you take. You got to take some action, right? Life is for living. Like, work with consciousness, work with the universe, work with the earth. And it's like, take some action for what it is that you would like to show up. There's such, I mean, the difference of people who sit around, saying that they wish they had something, and those that actually wake up and go, you know what, I'm choosing this. I don't care how uncomfortable this is, or, how much I'm like, diving off a big boat into the big blue. It's like, I'm choosing this. And you start to take some action. And even if that one action is leaving your house today, if you have that, that quote unquote fear of leaving your house, or talking to someone that you thought you couldn't talk to, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, you find out that there's something greater. Now, I also want to add in here, so interesting point of view, I have this point of view, and IPOV for short, IPOV. And I used to write it on my hand, IPOV, because you forget it, So I used to write it on my hand with a Sharpie so that I would look down for a while, because one of the things that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, says is use it for 6 months. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view, and see where you are at the end of 6 months. But you forget, right? So don't judge yourself that you're forgetting. It's like, I had it on sticky notes, on my computer, in my bathroom, wrote it on my hand. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. And all of the tools of Access Consciousness are about creating more freedom for you. Because I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I was really lucky. I had this amazing father who he died probably about 8 years ago now, but he was so empowering. Like, and I was crazy child, still crazy. But he would say to me, here we go. Oh, my daughter, she's so wild. He was Lithuanian. That's the accent, by the way. And he would say, this is your life. You get to choose it. And he would say, please go choose what it is you want to choose. And he would say to me, I'm here for you. And I always knew he was. Like, I always knew he was here. Whereas my mother would judge every choice that I made, still does, and then have this point of view of, she used to say to me all the time, you act like nobody owns you. And I was like, I'm confused. Nobody does own me. And it's like, but what if today is the day that you acknowledge that you have choice? You've always had choice. Now, what action are you going to choose something greater? And everything that doesn't allow you to choose that, where you destroy and uncreate it, right, wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
And
that Dan, about yeah, go.
That about being free has been,
just hold your mic up.
That the fact that you can be free rather to be judging yourself or be right or wrong all the time has been an amazing gift that I've received. And I'm so I have my gratitude.
If you're enjoying this podcast and have a question or topic you'd like me to address, please leave a review wherever you are listening. The best way for me to know what it is you want to hear about is to send in your questions, and we actually read all the reviews that come in. So let us know which episodes you loved and what you want to hear about next, right there in the podcast reviews. And thank you. Truly, truly grateful.